I'm sitting here with horror legend Tobe Hooper, which is a great honor for those of our audience that don't know, and everybody in our audience should know. He's directed a good number of films, such as Poltergeist, Salem's Lot, Invaders from Mars, the remake, which was I thought was really cool.
Oh, thanks, man.
Yeah, and of course, goes without saying, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Well, welcome and thanks for this little interview.
Oh, thanks, man. Cool.
My first question is, with the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, okay, there are two stories out there on how you came up with the idea for it. One story is you read a news article on Ed Gein, or the cannibal farmer who massacred a lot of people and started wearing their skins and everything else. Another story details you standing in line at a hardware shop, and you're wondering what's the fastest way to go get through the lineup, and you actually saw a bunch of chainsaws on sale. Just wondering if you can clear up, is there any truth to either one of them or either of those stories?
Yeah. Well, in a department store and in the hardware department, and it was like holiday season. I wanted to get out of there, and I saw these chainsaws, and it occurred to me, if I start one up, that the people will part like the waters, and I can get out of there. That's the true story. And it was like 4 or 5 years later that the Ed Gein thing came around. But where that came from was that when I was a little boy, my relatives from Wisconsin lived about 20 miles down the road from where the Ed Gein thing happened. And they kept, when I was like 4 or 5 years old, and they would tell me about this guy that would dig up graves and made lamps and furniture out of, covered with human skin. I didn't know his name was Ed Gein. I didn't know, and that's all I knew. And then I found later there were some similarities. Like, I didn't know that he made a suit out of skin. I even heard that he actually had a mask.
Yeah.
Yes, I didn't know any of this. I mean, it was like 3 or 4 years after the movie came out, then Ed Gein got really popular again. And there was a comic book, like an illustrated novel, about Ed Gein and Leatherface being the same person. So history has a funny way of finding itself.
Yeah, exactly. Which is awesome how these stories kind of intertwine themselves, and pop up in the annals of urban myth.
Yeah,
basically.
Exactly. Yeah.
You've inspired a lot of filmmakers these days with your style, with the catalog of your work. We're just wondering if what are some of your influences?
Well, Stanley Kubrick, A Clockwork Orange. In fact, almost every film Kubrick ever made. John Frankenheimer, Seconds, and Manchurian Candidate, and Robert Weiss made The Haunting.
That was an awesome movie. It's one of my favorites.
That was really awesome. That was a very scary. I mean, had it not been for that, then there wouldn't have been Poltergeist. And I mean, that was the perfect way to enter a ghost story, is through science. And I saw a lot when I was a little boy on television, late night, Citizen Kane, so Orson Welles and his cinematic style, but also European filmmakers like Fellini, and Antonioni, and Akira Kurosawa, and Bertolucci, and Dario Argento.
Of course, you can't forget Dario Argento.
Yeah. No, and David Lean. I mean, like Dr. Zhivago, and of course Lawrence of Arabia. All of David Lean's movies blew my mind. But I could go on and on about these directors.
Yeah, which is very, very cool. You have like a really, really broad range of influences, which is very, very, very cool to hear.
Oh, listen, I must say Hitchcock, because of Hitchcock's film style, the grammar, the cinematic grammar in which he tells the story. And I mean, I totally love the subjective camera, you know, cutting to the man dollying with him walking down the hallway, then cut to his point of view moving. And that influenced a lot of filmmakers.
Definitely, definitely. Speaking of filmmakers, there's been, of course, a resurgence with splatter horror in the past few years. Well, with the Saw movies, Turistas, and everything else. Just wondering, what are your thoughts on the current wave of horror filmmakers, and if you have any favorites of the modern bunch?
Well, you know, I liked the first Hostel a lot. I mean, I thought it was very clever. It has a friend of mine in it, Miike, and Takashi Miike.
Right.
And I found it, you know, a pretty smart piece. I like Rob Zombie's movies. And you know, and I think we're in the middle of a kind of renaissance where horror films, they're French horror films that are really showing our anger, and so I mean, it's natural. People are pissed off. They want to bust something, and you know, and torture porn, as they call it, as like there was no such thing as slasher films until way the hell after, long time after Chainsaw was made. But these labels get stuck on it, so torture porn. I know Eli, and I'm sure he's all right with that. I can't imagine not. But this is coming out of I mean, we lived in messed up times, man, and people are pissed off. And they want to hit something or break something, and we're headed in that direction, and that's the new. This form of cinema helps us get some of the poison out of us, I feel.
Yeah, very true, very true. Horror has always been a very cathartic experience for many people. That's why it's endured as long as it has.
Well, it's an emotional experience. Good cinema should be more about the emotion than the technique of making the movie. I mean, if you have both, that's great. But it is an emotional medium, and so getting the anger out, getting the fear out, and then films that Frankenheimer made, for some of the early films when people needed to cry, like in World War II, they made a lot of, and they started and those films were called tearjerkers. Well, they need to cry. Just like when you get poisoned, you need to throw up. You need to get these things out of your system.
Oh yeah, you have to get the angry out. Angry. Oh, angry. Yeah. Well. Thank you very much for the interview. Well, one final quick question. Do you have any quick tips for any aspiring young filmmakers out in our audience?
Oh, get a camera like this and $200 and start making a movie.
There you go. There you have it from the man himself, Tobe Hooper.
I know. Do it.